In this demo movie, we're going to show how to create a symmetric rapid texture part using Enroute software. Rapid texture is an easy and fast way to create some amazing textures using large profile tools and setting a number of parameters in Enroute. To create a symmetric part, which can be repeated on all sides, we have to follow a few specific steps. And this is a little bit more restrictive than some of the other types of pieces that can be made. For starters, this part has to be made out of a straight line, and we easily created a straight line by just clicking on our screen, holding the shift key down and dragging it along the x-axis. When you create the second point, a straight line will be created. We then moved it to the bottom middle of the plate by hitting the Control and the number 2 from the number pad to the right of the keyboard. The next thing I'll do is go up here to the Rapid Texture tool and enter some of my settings. We have a rapid texture tile we're making here of X and Y 10 and 10, and we've made that the same part as our plate size. The second rule, in addition to having to start off with a straight line, is that the X dimension, or the width of the part, must be divisible by the wavelength. Since we have an X of 10 and a width of 2.5, we can divide that and come up with a value of 4. And since that's a round number, that an exact number will get exact matching on all the sides. Then the other step here is that the offset value must be able to be divided into the height, or the Y dimension. And since we have a Y of 10 here, we can use 2 and 5 or 1 and 10 and get an exact offset value. Now a few other parameters we can create here that will help determine what the end result's going to look like. And because we do have these other parameters that can be used, there's still quite a bit of different types of textures we can get using this symmetric setting. The other part here is that we're going to make sure that we have symmetric checked. You can choose some other options here and combinations of these. In this case, we're going to use noise and randomize. I'll hit preview and apply. And this shows us what our part's going to look like. I can come here and move this into my plate a little bit. That will help to create a little deeper effect. And for this particular rapid texture, I'm going to use a 90-degree conic tool. Because I have follow contour check, the depth is not going to be followed because we're going to follow the lines to create the tool paths. And we would want to come in here and enter some values for our feed rates. Now we can hit the OK button and the toolpath will be applied. If we hit F9, it will show us that the width of each of the cuts in the material. Now let's see if these parts fit up correctly, and an easy way to do that is to do a 3D simulation and save your simulated part as a relief and see if they match on all sides. Because the only toolpaths that simulate are the ones within the material being simulated, I'm going to use my rectangle tool and draw a little bit bigger shape around my plate. I'm now going to select it and go to the 3D simulation tab. Here I'm going to have a resolution of 30, use my selected colors here. I'm going to use the selected contour as a mask and save my simulation as a relief. Now I'll hit the OK button. This will allow me to hit the play button, which will show me what this design is going to look like. And here you can see we have some V-groove movements going through this material. I'm now going to hit the Done key because I saved my simulation as a relief. It will appear on screen. First I'll delete the contour I used to create the simulation. Then I'll select my material size and the relief and slide them over here to the side. Now I'm going to trim away the boundary of the unnecessary part of this, and I'll do this by just going here and creating a flat, no thickness relief within this inner part. And now I'm going to come here to my 3D simulation, and I'm going to move it to the top of the plate so that I can have a little bit of thickness to my simulation. Let's move this back up here to 0. Now both of these objects are resting on the top of the plate. I'm going to go to the Merge Reliefs button, follow the little wizard here that tells me to select the base relief, hit the forward key, the play key, select the relief I want to merge, and I'm going to add the second relief to the first one, so that way I'm trimming away the unnecessary part of this rapid texture, which would be the same thing that would happen if I then came and cut this shape out. During this process, it's likely that because of the merging process, we might be a little bit off from a simulation standpoint with some of these parts, but for the most part, we should see that everything matches up correctly. An easy way to do this, first we'll come in here and zoom in on this a little bit again. An easy way to do this is to utilize the multi-copy tool. So I'm just going to scroll back here a little bit, come here to multi-copy, and in this case I have 4 rows and 4 columns with no spacing. I'll hit the apply key and then close, and I should be able to zoom in on one of these parts. And for the most part, not be able to tell where the lines are intersecting. If I scroll out here, we can move this over a little bit and scroll in again and still see that everything is connecting on all 4 sides. And we should be able to scroll up here a little bit and zoom in again and see that everything is continuing along, and we'll even zoom in here a little tighter just to make sure everything is looking good. But anything we notice here is probably due to the process of merging the contours and not having perfect edges because of a resolution issue. And by having higher resolutions, which might take longer to simulate, would probably resolve some of that as well. But for the purpose of making sure that this part matches on all 4 sides, we should be able to do one more zoom in here and see that we do get a seamless fit for each direction. This is the end of the how to create a symmetric panel with the Route software movie.